To be voting on the confirmation of Richard Cordray as director of the newly created Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Senator Richard Shelby is a Republican who serves Alabama. He's also the ranking member of the Senate Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee. And Senator, it's great to see you this morning.
Thank you. Glad to be with you again.
Before we jump off onto Robert Cordray, why don't we talk a little bit about what Barry Sternlicht was just discussing?
Well, I was interested. He had a lot to say, and he's done very well, and he understands a lot about what it's going to take to grow the economy and give opportunities to people.
Would you agree with the sentiment that divisiveness doesn't necessarily work, particularly when the majority of Americans tend to be in the center or more in the moderate positions? What do you think about that?
Well, it would be best if we could work together, if we could agree on our goals and put America first. Right now, though, in Washington, there's a big divide. I think a lot, from my perspective, is caused by the Democrats. They want their way or no way, and they have, I'm being a little partisan now, but a little bit. But on the other hand, when we can work together, and I've tried to work together and have succeeded at times, we get things done. But I'll tell you what, I believe it's time for us to put America first, above parties, the country, because we're sitting on a financial time bomb. We're probably a little marginally better than Europe, and time's not on our side.
Well, Senator, let's talk specifically about the deficit. Are there areas where you think there is common ground, something that could be accomplished, let's say, before 2013? Well,
I had hope for the super committee, or whatever we call it. A lot of people call it different things, some of them not very nice, but nothing worked out. And they were just talking about $1.2 trillion, which is peanuts, which is nothing.
That's nothing. We
should be looking at $4 or $5 trillion because we've got a financial time bomb. I think both parties realize it, but some people are paralyzed. I think the Republicans, for the most part, we want to grow. We want a real fundamental tax reform. The Democrats, and I know a lot of them, I was one at one time, they want to grow government. They want to create these constituencies where they'll vote for them.
All right, let's talk about Richard Cordray and his appointment for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that's coming up tomorrow. You do not support him. Why?
Well, I won't support him because I'm not supporting the structure of the committee. Now, if we had agreed on something with the president, we made a proposal earlier this year to make 3 fundamental changes to this Dodd-Frank bill. Not everything, but 3 fundamental changes, which make a lot of sense. And we haven't heard from the president yet. And 45 of us said to the president, we're not going to confirm any nominee until we have a structural change. And I believe that's what's going to happen at the end of the week when it plays out. I think Richard Cordray is caught up in something much bigger than his nomination.
Senator, this is more of a protest vote than a particular shot at Cordray himself.
I think it is. I don't think it's personal. Cordray seems like a nice man. I met with him. He asked to meet with me. I talked with him, and I told him just what I said here, that you're caught up in a super power struggle that is substantive in nature, that means a lot to business. A lot of us, the Republicans, we don't want to create a czar here, a consumer czar, with no accountability, not even accountable to Congress for its money, accountable to no one, has no board, and wouldn't even have to take into account safety and soundness of our financial system, our products. This is unprecedented power. We better stop it now.
I mean, it's not a time to add government, not like this. I mean, you have the FDA regulating drugs. We sort of thought we had Dodd-Frank helping out on regulating financial institutions. It wasn't very effective, it appears. But adding more and more regulations when I ran Starwood Hotels for 10 years, and when the government started, you spend all your time now filling out reports to the governments that are running your business and growing your enterprise, and they're not doing it in China, right? They're not filling these forms out in Russia or in the Middle East. And we're sitting here reporting to our government on things we can do wrong. To some semblance, not all CEOs are crooks. And not all banks are. It is a free market, and we have to let it operate.
It's not an argument for no regulation.
Not at all.
The free market will if I can. The free market, if you leave it alone, will grow jobs. But what we're just growing regulations, and it's anti-jobs.
Senator, I'm not going to disagree with you, but I would suggest that there are people out there that are going to say that when you look back at the financial crisis and you look at all the jobs that have been lost over the past several years, it was a function of the fact that regulators failed. Now, whether that's that there weren't enough regulators or whether the regulators who were in place didn't do their jobs, then the question becomes, how do you regulate the system?
But you know, you do need regulation, but there are boundaries, there are guidelines, and within that, free enterprise operates. So if a credit card company is charging you 30%, another company is going to come in and charge you 20, and a third company will come and charge you 18, and then 15 and 12. And competition will arbitrage away, and we'll create new companies to take out excess profits. And if companies, we have legal systems. If you produce a product that's defective, you're going to wind yourself up with a massive fine, right? So we have regulations already. We just have to have good enforcement of that, but not micromanage the economy this way.
I totally agree with you. One, regulation will never compete with real open competition because the market will work, it'll set the price, we'll all benefit.
But Senator...
Actually, we have to remember the regulators did fail the financial system back in 08.
Correct.
I don't think there's any debate on that.
Correct.
Okay. Well, Senator, I want to thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Becky.
We appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Coming up, the news that's lighting up the